I'm Samantha Yarock, and welcome to the first edition of Gold Cup Today, MLSsoccer.com's daily show on the 2013 Gold Cup. Tune in every day to find out all of the news, analysis, highlights, everything you would possibly want to know to follow the tournament. We'll even have our very own editors traveling with the U.S. men's national team throughout the tournament to give you the most complete coverage possible of the team. Well, the Gold Cup kicked off last night with Group A matchups. First up was Martinique with their shocking win in stoppage time over Canada, followed by the group's favorites, Mexico, being beaten by Panama. So let's take a look at the highlights from the games last night and then check in with our experts, Saghini and Simon Borg, to hear about the opening night of the tournament.
The tournament got underway in Pasadena with Canada taking on Martinique in the first game. And it was Martinique with one of their better chances early, forcing this save from Milan Borjan.
And that's the number 17, Kevin Parsman, the captain of Martinique, who was a handful all game to deal with for Canada, popping up in different places and making plays. Very crafty. Here he is with another shot on goal.
Forcing another big save from Borjan, who was put to work to keep Canada in this. Simon, Canada was supposed to be the favorite here. Here's a Marcus Haber chance in the second half. Not enough. Canada was definitely hurt in this game by Will Johnson leaving just after halftime with a stomach illness.
And when you thought it would finish 0-0, this left-footed strike from Fabrice Rupernet, upper 90 in second half stoppage time. A dream strike for a dream start for Martinique, and they're going to be celebrating like they've just won the World Cup.
So Simon, is this more Martinique being better than we thought they were, or is it Canada being worse than we thought they were?
Jason, I'd have to go with Martinique surprising everyone here. I think we have another Guadeloupe situation on our hands. Guadeloupe, a team that came into the Gold Cup a couple editions back, shocked everyone, made it to the semis. Second time around, didn't surprise many. But I think Martinique showed that they have players who can make things happen with the ball at their feet, and athletically they're very capable. And in those kind of settings, with that kind of heat, they're at their ease.
When we previewed this group, Simon, we thought this was the game that Canada was going to win, and they might even steal a point from Panama. But at this point, with 0 points after the game they were supposed to win, are they out of this tournament?
Jason, I'd have to believe they are, because their best case scenario, beat Martinique, point against Panama, then get what you get against Mexico. Not having accomplished it against Martinique means they'd have to have the absolute perfect game against Panama. And Panama, I think, are going to be tougher than I thought they were based on the last World Cup qualifiers. They had a great game against Mexico.
All right, speaking of that game against Mexico and Panama in the nightcap, and it didn't take long for things to get interesting as Panama earns an early PK.
And Quintero was causing havoc down that left side the entire game. But what's Raul Jimenez, a forward, doing? Trying to go for the ball in the box. That sets up Gabi Torres, who has the perfect start to this game. Mexico in disarray, Panama flying.
Panama goes up 1-0 later in the half. Panama with another chance to extend the lead. It's Cecilio Waterman off the post.
And Jason, Mexico in absolute disarray in this first half. Players really didn't know what they were doing on the field. But nonetheless, just before halftime, Israel Jimenez finding Marco Fabian in the box, and that's the kind of finish. Those are the kind of skills people expect out of Marco Fabian, who was the most inspired of his group on the game.
Mexico goes into halftime 1-1, but just after halftime, it's Quintero again serving it in, and it's Torres again. Gabi Torres with his second goal of the game. Panama leads 2-1.
And this is what the opponents of Panama have to look forward to in Group A. Gabi Torres with 2 goals, and imagine him partnering up with Blas Perez in the upcoming games.
And here's a final late chance for Mexico, denied by Pineda.
And Jason, that's Juan Valenzuela with the header, but ultimately too little too late. Mexico has to go back to the drawing board and figure out how they can be more dangerous.
Well, Simon, we've been saying things need to get better for Mexico now for a while. Chepo de la Torre, the head coach for Mexico, is he going to make it through this tournament?
Well, Jason, this is the hottest his seat has ever been, in my opinion. They had 2 losses in the tune-up games leading into the Gold Cup, then this loss, and they looked in disarray, Jason. He picks the squad, he sets up the tactics. Unless they completely turn it around, and it would be a miraculous turnaround, they'll get out of the group. But in the knockout rounds, if they're humiliated at any point during the way, I think, yes, there's a chance they could get rid of him. I remember Hugo Sanchez. They got rid of him after the Mexican team didn't make it to the Olympics in Olympic qualifying. So absolutely, that's a scenario.
Well, we said this Panama team was potentially a contender coming into this tournament. A huge win in Game 1, Simon. Are they competing with the U.S. and Mexico for the championship now?
I think especially if Mexico is on a downward slide in this tournament, they can maybe have some hope. But I don't think that other teams are going to take Alberto Quintero lightly, or Gabi Torres for that matter. I don't think Quintero will do the damage he did against Mexico to other teams. So I think they'll get out of the group. They might finish first, but I don't know necessarily they're a contender for the title.
Remember, this team beat Mexico, and now they're adding Blas Perez, possibly their best player, into the mix. Let's toss it back to Sam.
Thanks, guys. Well, Group B enters the tournament tonight at Red Bull Arena with El Salvador taking on Trinidad and Tobago, followed by Haiti taking on the group favorites Honduras. Let's go back to Jason and Simon to hear what we should be watching for in tonight's games.
Simon, 4 more teams entering the tournament tonight. What are your expectations out there?
Well, Jason, El Salvador and Trinidad I don't expect to go deep in the tournament, but I'm very curious about Honduras, especially if Mexico's having a down tournament. They could be the ones that challenge the U.S. for the tournament title. And it all depends on whether their Roro combination, their 2 forwards, Ronnie Martinez and Roger Rojas, if they can be dangerous. Honduras, they play well, and they have good players all around the field, but they've struggled scoring goals at key moments. I think Roger Rojas is a good commodity, and then Ronnie Martinez, both of them, 2 of the top leading scorers in the Honduran League.
Well, Simon, we've talked a lot about this Haiti team in the preview. Team with some MLS influence. Peterson Joseph and Mishak Jerome from Sporting Kansas City will probably be starters on this team. Can Haiti be the next team to pull off an upset after we saw 2 upsets on day 1?
You can catch both those games tonight on Fox Soccer. The first starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and the second game kicks off at 9:30. Let's do a quick check-in with the U.S. men's national team, who are coming off a huge 6-0 win over Guatemala on Friday night. Team is looking confident and strong, and there's no better way for this team to be entering the Gold Cup tournament than a win like that. We saw Landon Donovan, who seems to be returning to form, putting in 2 goals for the team, and another MLSer, Chris Wondolowski, scoring his first national team goal. And after an injury for Josh Gatt, we saw former FC Dallas star Breck Shea added to the roster. The U.S. will face Belize on Wednesday, July 9th. You can catch that on Fox Soccer at 11 p.m. And in the meantime, be sure to check out the full Group C preview on MLSsoccer.com. Well, that's all we have for Gold Cup today, but we'll be back tomorrow with a full recap of tonight's games and much more on the U.S. men's national team as they begin their quest for the Gold Cup.